would like to start my introduction, and hopefully I can finish it in 25 minutes, half an hour. Then we can leave several like 20 or 15 minutes to like some questions, and I would like to give my explanation. First of all, I'd like to introduce the role of electrification in energy revolution, China's targets, and SGCC's actions. The work I will talk about have three parts. The first part is about a brief on China's energy and the SGCC's role. The second part is the national strategy of energy revolution. The third part is SGCC's future vision and concrete actions. First of all, when we think about China, what's its position in global energy transition? I would like to say, if we talk about China, China is the largest energy consumer, about 1/4 of global total, largest consumer, largest oil importer, second largest oil consumer just after the United States, second largest gas importer after Japan, third largest gas consumer after USA and Russia. When we talk about electricity, China is the largest electricity producer and consumer. It's about 1/4 of the global total, largest coal-fired, not only in generation capacity, but also electricity generation we have created. It's about 50% of the global total. For hydro, it's also largest. For nuclear, we're the fourth largest, but I think it's after 2025 will be the largest. And current, the first three largest is the USA, France, and Russia. For wind power, we are the largest. For solar generation, we are the largest. There's a small thing here is when we say the wind power generation and the solar generation, the share of China in total generation and capacity is not the same. There's a little story here. In China, we have a huge installed capacity, but the electricity generation is not that big. It's because we have a huge wind or solar curtailment. One reason maybe we have too much installed capacity. The other reason is the wind and the solar generation is in the west north. We have the transfer this kind of huge electricity from the wind farms or the solar PVs to the demand centers in the southeast. We have no that much transmission capacity. That's a little story. The next slide. Well, State Grid has been the member of Global Sustainable Electricity Partnership for many years. I would like a very brief key points about SGCC, and this slide is a little clarification of the common misunderstandings about the SGCC. The key points: we are providing electricity supply to a population of 1.1 billion, serving 88% of China's land area. In China, there is also a China Southern Grid. It includes the 5 provinces in south of China. Okay, here, electricity sales by State Grid is 3,874 tegawatt hour. This is the whole number here. China is the largest electricity producer and consumer. The number is 6.3 trillion kilowatt hour. It's like 6,300. So here we are not that small. Like just like this one, the share of electricity we sell is about 80% of the China total. The total assets 3,800 billion RMB. This is the number in 2017. It's also 2017. Profit is not only, but it's 91 billion RMB. The fixed investment in last year, in 2017, is 500 billion RMB. The over assets is about 60 billion USD dollars. We have assets, or we call it overseas investment in 7 countries. Employee is 1.63 million. Line loss is 6.66%. This is the transmission line. This is connected capacity. Okay. This slide, I would like to say 5 common misunderstandings. The first one, SGCC is not a power generation company. We don't own all the capacity connected to our world. We only own 22 gigawatts pumped storage capacity for peak shaving. Only pumped storage. This is the industry reform at the end of 2002. Before that, we called state power, not only state grid, because state power, we have all the transmission, all the distribution, all the generation, even the China southern grid. So we are in the whole country. But after 2002, we became the grid. We have no power generation. Now only 22 gigawatts pumped storage. The second, SGCC owns and operates the national transmission networks and the majority of district networks. I have to say, in China, starting from 2015, the government started a set of power industry reform. For the power industry reform, it's like the design for transmission distribution tariff. One thing. The second thing, to build a electricity market. Third thing is the establishment of electricity trading institute. The fourth is the opening up of distribution networks. The fifth, the opening up of a retailing market. And also the sixth thing is like the regulation on non-public power plants. So at current, I can say that we own nearly all the distribution networks, but still some we are opening this kind of distribution networks to the public investment. It's not the SGCC anymore. The third thing, SGCC buy electricity from power plant first, then sell to the end user. Well, this is normally how a grid company works. But the difference is we can see from here, our revenue is so big, but the profit is only like this. It's a very small share when we compare the profit and the revenue. The reason is we buy electricity from power plants, we sell them to the end users, but the end users pay electricity payment to us first. Then we, SGCC, pay the money to the power plants. We have a huge of money in our pocket, but this kind of money is does not belong to SGCC. It belongs to the power plants. The fourth thing, electricity sales is smaller than total consumption, as some industry customers own non-public power plants. Well, in several provinces like Xinjiang province, Shandong province, there are many industry parks, factories. They own their own power plants. This kind of power plants is not included in the electricity sold, but it's included in the total consumption. Okay, the fifth is this is also one trick thing. SGCC does not take the responsibility of electricity tariff designing, which is whoever determined by the central or provincial government. well, this is the situation maybe for 20, 30, 40 years, but now we are do some industrial reforms, so this situation may change in the future. Okay, in this slide is the second part of my presentation. Before I say the challenging, to see some words, I will say when I prepare for the presentation, I said I would like to talking about the energy revolution. You know, in other countries around the world, people would like to talk about energy transition or energy transforming. While we talk about the challenge, why the world is energy revolution in China. The story starts about 3 or 4 years ago. China's President Xi Jinping, in one meeting organized by the central government, it said that for China's energy development, we would like to have a development strategy called 4 Revolution, 1 Corporation. It's a 4 Revolution, 1 Corporation. It's like it's called a energy production revolution, energy consumption revolution, energy technology convolution, and energy mechanism revolution. It's a 4 revolution. Then international cooperation. We call it 4 revolution and 1 corporation. At first, it's called that. But in 2016, about 2 years later, the central government issued a report called Strategy for Energy Production and Consumption for the period from 2016 to 2013. So at that time, the Chinese government, their word became energy revolution or energy consumption or production and consumption revolution. Then the story changed at the beginning of this year. At the beginning of this year, the NEA, the National Energy Administration of China, changes the word. It's called Energy Security New Strategy. Well, I know maybe it's confused, but you know, in China or in IEA, in the global energy industry, I think we in this presentation we use the word energy revolution, but it's basically what's happening about the China's energy transition. Okay, clean energy transition is overwhelming around the globe. Although numerous opportunities appear in global supply, demand pattern structure, technical evolution, mechanism reform, and international cooperation, China still faces its own challenges in energy transition. In here, I summarize the 5 challenges. The first one, increased demand face energy resource limits and emission peaking commitment. The second, low utilization efficiency causes serious environmental pollution and ecological degradation. The third, independent evolution in advanced energy technology are not fast enough. The fourth one, market is not playing a dominant role in resource allocation and price discovery. Fifth one, energy security bear huge uncertainty from global geopolitical change. Okay, in the document issued by the central government for the China's production and consumer revolution, it's about 40 or 45 pages. This is just the major measures for China's energy revolution. You see here from production, clean, efficient co-use. Let's just look at the red word. It's like growth mainly from renewables, electrification in urban and rural areas, low carbon installation technologies, and mechanism like marketing's dominant role in pricing discovery or cooperation, also playing a lot of words in the Road and Belt Initiative. Just a very brief introduction. This slide is talking about China's energy revolution, some targets set by the China's revolution. Also, just the red word, in 2020, our target is non-fossil energy to account for 15. 13, this number became 20, and 2015, this number became to 17. And then here, China also promised to get the carbon emission to peak around 2030, and struggle to be earlier than that. This is also the Chinese government's commitment for the Paris Agreement. Okay. Here we're talking about the electricity in urban and rural areas. This slide I talk about what's the measures for electrification of the Chinese energy revolution. For urban, rural, and digitalization. The government said that we should work in the following fields like electric cars, electrified rails, electric heating, electric cooking. For rural, first is universal access to electricity. Then is network upgrades to reduce poverty by PV, using energy like geothermal energy and biomass for digitalization, smart cities, smart buildings, smart home, smart transport. I'm not going to go into detail in this area, but in the third part of my presentation, I will provide some measures or work have already been done by SGCC. And if we would like to see more information, I think we already provide some books in the EDF's work report for this year's summit, for this year's GSEP summit. Okay. Here is another government document. It's actually to promote end-user electricity in end-use. It's issued by 8 government agencies in later 2015. It's mainly to promote the use of electricity in buildings, industry, transport. New buildings, it's like electricity heatings, heat pumps, boilers, electricity cooking, heating. For industry, it's like electrical boilers with and without storage in this kind of activities in the industry, electrical furnaces and motors in material handling and pumps in agriculture. In transport, the government also recognized charging networks to be the key industry to promote the popularization for EVs and the ships, boats. Also, in airports, all the vehicles, equipment to be driven by the industry. Well, this is the end of the second part of my presentation. The third part of my presentation, I'd like to first introduce SGCC's new era development strategy, then some work done by the SGCC, well, not only in 2017, but mainly in 2017, and some work done maybe in the past 5 years. Well, in early 2018, it's very, very early, very new. I think it's only 2 months ago. SGCC pronounced its new era development strategy. Well, what's new era? Well, it's like China enter its new era for its economy or society development. This word is it's a word from the CPC National Congress in last year's November 2017. And after that, in early 2017, SGCC also have its new era development strategy. The key word is to be the world-leading energy internet enterprise with excellent connectivity links. Oh well, there's a key word here. What's energy internet? I have been attending several international conferences. Well, in the USA or in the Europe, people use different words to describe the same thing, like renewable, as it's called energy integration or integrated energy, something like that. But in China, the hot word is energy. Well, very often talk word is energy internet. It's to achieve flexible access and wide interconnection and coordinated interaction for all kinds of energy processor and consumer. Well, if why we use energy internet and not electricity internet? I think this is our chairman. This is the chairman of SGCC, Mr. Ying Shu. I believe that. Not I believe it's some word from the headquarters of our SGCC. Why energy internet? You know, SGCC is a power grid company. Power grid, we think, is the base for future energy internet. So SGCC, we are not going to be only sell electricity in the future. SGCC plan to sell like water, heat, gas, or maybe all other kind of energy, other kind of energy in the future. And we think electricity is in the central of energy transition or energy revolution. And you know, as a power grid company, we can become the base or the foundation of energy transition. We call it energy internet enterprise. You know, to be energy internet, we also another word is a next generation power system. Well, this may be a little technical. I'm not going to, because I don't understand that much. I'm not going to describe here too much, but the main features of the next generation power system is like interconnected, intelligent, flexible, and controllable. You know, 2020, 25, 35, we have a three-step developing strategy. This one is, I think this is not the old era developing strategy, but it's a strategy set several years, in 2008 or 2007, about 10 years ago. We called modern enterprise with strong grid, excellent assets, quality service, and outstanding performance. In Chinese word, this is one strong, three assets. One strong selection, modern enterprise. But we hopefully are planning to, to make our dream come true in 2020 and 2025, basically becoming a world-leading energy internet enterprise. And in 2035, it's a world-leading energy enterprise with excellent competitiveness in all aspects. Okay, what's the role of electrification in energy revolution? This is the topic of my presentation. In SGCC, there's also another word called re-electrification. I will spend some time to explain. SGCC believes that electrification is spending up in both production and consumption sides, so-called re-electrification. In primary side, it's large-scale development of wind and solar energy. In consumption side, it's a deep substitution of fuel energy by electricity. Well, if you are familiar with SGCC or you have been to the, I think it's 2 years ago, we have a GSEP summit in China. At that time, SGCC's words about this thing, about electrification is we call the two substitution. The first one, clean substitution. The second one is electricity substitution. It's mainly one is for production side, the other is for consumption side. But why electrification? You know, after several years study, this is this comes from our internal report that you know, IEA made some. It's not it's forecasting, it's a projection. Okay, electrification in production side. You see here, the electrification rate is speeding up, and in consumption side, electrification rate, we also think there is a speeding up trend globally, not only in developing countries, not only in China or in India, everywhere in the world. The total, the global electrification rate in consumption side, we think that it may reach 40% in 2015. Here are one thing is what did SGCC did in supporting the development of renewable energy. Well, let's make it simple. Like SGCC contributes to reduce renewable energy containment through systematic solution, including planning, connecting, dispatching, transmission, and trading. About planning, it means we should have the right size of renewable generation capacity and the right size of transmission capacity. Connecting is make it easier for renewables to connect to the main transmission grid. Dispatching is a little complicated in China, but dispatching here, what I would like to say is the renewable electricity in one province could be easily transmitted from one province to another province. The final training, what I mean here is to try to solve this problem or try to release the problem by market reform. One thing I need to say here is, the curtailment. I have a finger here for easy for you guys to understand. In 2016, just 2 years ago, the rate for wind curtailment in China total is 17.2%, 17.2%. But in last year, 2017, it's only 12%, 5.2 percentage points lower. For solar generation, in 2015, 2 years ago, the curtailment rate is about 10%. Last year, it's only 6%. SGCC is all the government. You can see the government, the grid company, the generation company, all the society have did a lot of work trying to support the development of renewable energy. Okay, here is enhanced distribution networks in rural and remote areas. In 2016-2017, SGCC invested 142 billion RMB in rural distribution networks upgrades, benefiting a population of 150 million in about 66,000 villages. The number here is for the past 2 years, 2016 and 2017. I can also give another number is for the, we call it 13th 5-year planning from 2013 to 2020. 5 years, SGCC investment plan is about 522 billion RMB just in rural distribution network upgrades. While the effect is very obvious, outage time perhaps was reduced from it's not that much, but you can see from here per capita energy consumption per year is per year increased by 95.5 kilowatts or 35.1% increase. This is the comparison between 2016 and 2017. And inherent supply capacity. First thing is the transformation capacity per household into the value. It's many new distribution lines, many new substations, and many new transformers. Okay. The first slide is about the generation. The third part, the second slide is about the network. Here, coming to the consumption. In the past 5 years, electricity substitution in SGC areas increased from only 14 TWh to 115 TWh. Or you can see there is an increase of nearly 70 per year. It's 70 per year. The government plan. The government plan for the 13th 5-year planning for substitution is like 500. Well, actually, I think the number is 450 TWh. It's a lot. During the past 5 years, SGCC have done, this is 100,000 projects in electricity substitution, and this is the electricity substitution in 2017. the share of this value of electricity in our total electricity sales is about 3%. Here is SGCC's work to support the transport electrification. Well, we have I think we have a box. We have a box about this part in the EDF's work report. SGCC has built a smart PV to grid platform connecting the world's most charging piles and consumers. The services include charging, monitoring, maintenance, car washing, and advertisement and financing. To give two basic values. The first one is how many electric cars now we have in China. Another one is how many electric cars are forecasted for the coming decades. I think in last year, 2017, by the end of this year in China, it's about 2 million. The smart electric vehicle, including bus, including it's not only the private car. It's a private car, bus, so many cars using electricity. It's 2 million. The government plan for 2020 is about 5 million, and the plan for 2030, I believe that it's I think it's 15 million for 2013. Okay, this is what we did to promote the electric heating in North China. In China's central government planning on electric heating in North China. This is a document issued last, I think, the middle of last year. Cleaning heating included natural gas, electricity, geothermal energy, biomass, solar energy, industrial waste heat, and clean coal. The main targets for cleaning heating are 50% by next year, 70% by the end of the plan, I say 2021. Here is what SGCC did. By the end of 2017, SGCC have the 2 million house in North China to change to electric heating. It's forecasted that the building areas of electric heating areas in 2071 may reach 1.5 billion square meters. This value in in 2 years ago is only 0.5, so it's a huge increase. And and this will add 110 TWh per year in electricity consumption. You see here, this is a different kind of measures in electric heating. This is the government planning. Like nearly half is distributed renewable energy used to heat your buildings, the house, the office. The other is 20% coming from electric boilers, then about 30% from heat pumps. Okay, here is SGCC is trying to do in energy saving and emission reduction from generation, network, and demand side. From smart, I think what I like to say here is what we're trying to do to reduce the carbon dioxide emission. So here, the electricity substitution in 2017, this value has appeared 3 times, I believe, equal to burning 64 million tons of coal and reduce 110 million tons of carbon emission. It's kind of work we did. Also, generator side, it's the capacity share, the generation share. In network side, it's the line loads is reducing very fast. Okay, this is the final slide of my presentation. It's also a new strategy for SGCC. It's included in the SGCC's new area development strategy. It's transforming to a comprehensive energy service provider. It's trying to enhance its strength in commercial energy, transforming from you see here only from a company who is selling electricity to a company who is trying to sell so comprehensive energy service like water, heat, gas. Well, all the service, main service like we also trying to provide energy efficiency, monitoring, energy saving, distribution, generation, energy storage. The targets set by the headquarters of the GSEP is trying to earn. You mean? Oh, I mean here earn like 500, not 500. It's 15 billion RMB in 2020. Wow, it's nearly half of the profit for SGCC now. So it's a very ambitious target. And for comprehensive energy service provider, the service target is industrial park, public buildings, residential, consumer, induction, well, energy internet, smart energy, long-energy complement. Well, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you guys, and apologize again for the late. Hopefully we have 7 minutes for Q&A. Many thanks.